Lord, I'm amazed by you, how you love me. Oh, how you love me. So thank you. So the third thing I think fits very well with this song, because I have to say that after fighting so hard to keep my husband alive, and him fighting so hard to stay alive, it was very difficult to worship God through that and after and now. Not because I don't love God, but because I think I don't always understand. And I think about that, what I remember is that same week in the ICU when all of our whole world came crashing down. I remember this particular morning when I went into the chapel at the hospital and just laid on the floor and cried. And I remember the song "'Tis So Sweet to Trust in Jesus" coming to mind. And I just thought, I don't know about sweet. I'm trying to trust him, but I don't know how sweet it is. But I sang that song over and over and over and over and over again on that hospital floor. I remember telling myself, you're going to sing it until you can sing it without crying. You're going to sing it until you can truly believe it, because I was singing it, but I didn't mean it. And then I remember going up and I said, the song came to mind. I need to sing it for you. And I wrapped my arms around him and just sang it over him. And that became our kind of like what we did when he wasn't doing well. He would be like, can you sing? Can you sing for me? We had worship nights every single week. On Tuesday nights, our friends would come, our coworkers would come, people would sing, and they would pray with us, and they would lay hands on him and pray for him. And I really believe that God delights so much in our choosing to praise him when we don't feel like it. And one of the reasons I feel like I know that is because our home would be filled with so much peace afterward. All week long, it was so chaotic and it was so difficult. And then I would clean the house and I would get everything ready and we'd set the chairs out and I'd light some candles and people would come and they would sing with us. And when they left, I feel like the presence of God just kind of rested on our home all night long. And it was my favorite day of the week. We would do it other times too. There was one night he had started chemo and he felt so weird. And I didn't mention this, but my husband had survived cancer one time earlier in his life, and I knew him back then. It was at the beginning of our friendship, but it had been 7 years since he had it, so they never thought it would come back. But he knew what chemo looked like, and he did not want to go through it again. But he did it anyway because he was fighting with everything in him to beat this. And so one night I remember, we were newlyweds. You're not expecting to not be able to spend time together or to be able to be close together. But I remember him lying in our bed, and I just tried to put my hand on his shoulder to just be comforting. And he's like, please, please don't touch me. And I was like, oh, it just hurt so much. Because 2 months prior, we just stood at the altar and gotten married. And that's not what you're expecting your newlywed year to look like. And so I went into the living room and I did the same thing. I sang one of my favorite worship songs called Shepherd. And I just sang it over and over until I could sing it without crying. And I think the peace of God just descends in those moments, because I believe, I don't know this to be true, but I believe that he is so proud of us when we choose to trust him in the midst of such extreme pain. And so I wanted to sing this song for you. This is was one of our go-tos on our worship nights. It's called "It Is Well," and you would know "It Is Well with My Soul." It's just a new modern version of that, but I find it to be I sang it a lot when it was not well with my soul at all. I think it's more almost like a declaration that I'm going to trust that it will be well, and I'm going to choose to believe that you're going to bring that peace that passes understanding in the middle of all of this. And so I pray too, as you just imagine whatever it is that's heaviest on your heart, that you kind of lay it before the Lord during the song and just imagine Him kind of taking that burden and bringing that peace so that it is well with your soul. Grander earth has quaked before, moved by the sound of His voice. Seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken from my regard. Through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well. Through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me. Far be it from me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the midst of the sea. Through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well. Through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well. It is well. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. So let go, my soul, and trust in Him. The waves and wind still know His name. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well through it all, my eyes are on you, and it is well with me. So, um, over the summer of last year, as my husband was declining, we never, ever, ever, ever imagined that he wouldn't make it. Never talked about it, never planned for it. I have no regrets because we really loved each other to the fullest and fought so hard. And I truly believe that when he died, he received that well done from Jesus. If Stephen got a standing ovation after being stoned, I feel like my husband got a standing ovation after bearing such unimaginable pain. I was his pain manager, especially for the last couple months of his life, and so constantly trying to keep up with it, and it just never, he was in pain until he died. But I love to imagine what it was like for him to enter into the presence of Jesus, and he didn't look like himself, he didn't sound like himself, he couldn't see, he couldn't hear. All this stuff had started to happen. His face was so swollen, and I love to imagine what it was like for him to enter into the presence of Jesus, receive that well done, good and faithful servant, and also just feel good again. And I think I have a very different perspective on life than a lot of people now, and I think this is where the good stuff starts to come in, because I don't get upset about being stuck in traffic. I don't get upset about that little stuff, and I'm not saying that to be prideful. I'm saying that because I know how hard life can be. I know how much. There were weeks when I was working and taking him to 8 or 9 appointments throughout the week, and I was making all his tube feeds, and I was, trying to keep the morale up, and we were trying to laugh whenever we could, but once you have a trach, you can't laugh anymore. But even the night that he died, he still tried to laugh. It didn't make a sound, but you could see his body kind of shaking. I know what it's like to go through that and to choose joy even in the midst of that. And so even as much as I miss him and as sad as I am most of the time, it's easier for me to just kind of be like, that's not that big of a deal. And so I think the fourth thing that I feel like I have learned is that life is but a breath, so don't complain. Even in the midst of all of that, I think there were definitely days when I complained, and goodness knows there are days when I complain now, but I try to remind myself as much as I can. At least I can swallow, at least I can breathe, at least I can eat. These things that we take for granted, our gifts, our bodies function pretty well overall, and I know we've all got issues, but it's really quite amazing, and it's miraculous, and it's beautiful, and I feel like if you can find joy in the middle of such difficult circumstances, goodness knows we can find joy now. And I also feel like it's given me an opportunity to feel like I can kind of jump into other people's shoes a little bit more. I remember just wishing that someone would notice that I was not doing well. All the time I would just kind of look around and be like, hello. And no, I just felt kind of invisible sometimes. So now I feel like I notice people a lot better. And I think that's just Jesus loving them through me. But where I work, I interact with a lot of homeless people. I interact with a lot of people that have nothing, that don't know where their next meal is coming from. So for me to be able to say, I've been through some things too. Never could have said that before. My life had been pretty darn great. So God's given me this kind of opportunity to know that life can be hard, and I know it gets much harder. So it just has given me this different lens. But I think ultimately it's also helped me, this life is but a breath, and I actually am grateful for that at this point in my life because I want to see my husband again. But this next song is one that I wrote a couple of years ago based around my very favorite psalm, Psalm 139. And there is a part of that talks about every day that's ordained for us, that he knows what it is. And so it's helping me to kind of trust in that I know there's a reason I'm still here. I feel like I have a purpose don't know what it is, because all the plans that I had with my husband, that was all I could think about for a long time, just all the things we were going to do together. But I know that he has such deep desires for all of us, things that he wants us to accomplish while we still have time here. And so this song is kind of just about laying our lives before him and trusting him with our days, that there's a reason that we're here, and he knows when we're going to be there with him. And I, for one, am looking forward to that day. But until I'm there, I'm trying to make the most of life. Oh Lord of my heart, you've searched and you've seen every part of me. You know when I sit, you know when I rise, you know everything. You know all of me. Every word that's on my tongue, you know before I speak. You've laid your hand upon me. You've seen everything. You've seen all of me. But you are not afraid to see every part of me. Search me, God, and know my heart. Please test me and know my thoughts. Take away what's blinding me, and Father, lead me. Lead me in your way. There's nowhere on earth I can go to flee. Your glory surrounding me. The light of your truth shines forth in the dark, illuminating me, all of me. But you